What's up, everybody? Fast Hours Podcast, episode 79. 79. I don't know if that's a lucky number, but it might as well be. We're almost at 80. And it feels like because we've been on this little run.
It's a run.
Between episode 70 through 80 has basically gone at light speed. So I'm pumped about that, dude. We've been knocking these out. I know we got a good episode today. But before we get into that, man, what's happening in your world?
Well, if we're going to be candid about the situation, if you guys can't see the bags under my eyes, wife gave birth
to... Rough. They're rough.
Yes, they are. I'm pale. I'm puffy. I'm tired. I'm gonna sound like a total idiot on this episode, but here we are. Wife gave birth to our son, Roman. He's about 5 weeks early. He's cool. He's chilling. He's burping, farting, sleeping, eating. That's about it. Making some noise. And I haven't slept in 2 weeks. So, perfect time to do episodes, right? I mean,
Daddy times two.
Daddy times two. It is way more chaotic than I expected. It's like, when one starts, the other one gets going too. And it's just like, all right, this used to be peaceful here. Now it is a tornado. But
was it ever peaceful though? Let's be honest. Now it will seem peaceful because now you've got two and they came at different times. You've got sort of the baseline there.
I was getting soft. I was getting like 8 hours, 7 hours of sleep at night, like just cruising, feeling good. And now it's like, I'm eating leftover pizza at 3 a.m. because I'm just trying to stay awake and my body's just failing me. Dude, it's a lot harder at 37 than it was at 34.
Dude, I was just going to say that. What? You just told me that. Yeah, you text me. You're like, dude, the difference between 34 and 37 is drastic.
It's like, I feel like a corpse. I wake up in the morning, like, no joke. The other day I took Luna out. I take her out every morning at 5:45. Like, so, there's no negotiating. This one back here, she pounces on me at 5:45 in the morning, like, get up, dude, time to go. So, like, even when I do get 2-3 hours of sleep, she's right there to wake me up. So regardless, I take her out in the morning, we walk to the park, I throw her the ball for like 45 minutes, we go get coffee, I walk home, right? When I got home, no joke, I could not remember the walk in the morning. I was like, am I like blackout drunk? No, I'm just sleep deprived. This is chaos. I don't even know what I'm saying. You're a little bit sharp with everyone too. Like, people like trying to be nice to you. And I was like, yeah, whatever, I'm such a
don't mess with me, man. Don't mess with me.
Don't mess with me. Don't pull some Higgsfield stuff on me right now because I'm ready to
They got lit up again, bro.
Catch a stray.
I just can't. I mean, they got lit up again. Did you see that?
Yeah, maybe we should, we give them enough airtime, right? We don't need to talk.
I agree.
They suck.
I agree.
Sorry.
The short is Higgsfield gonna Higgsfield. So
yes, but other than that, I've been doom scrolling in the middle of the night trying to watch YouTube videos, whatever, to stay awake. And you'll appreciate this one. I don't know if we've mentioned this one on the podcast. Maybe we have. I saw a video of a dude being like, all right, you guys have been sending me movies that can make me cry, part 7. And then he puts it up and he's like, Homeward Bound. I was like, no.
Oh,
I was like, you are going to melt down on camera. Don't do it. And then you see the guy like halfway through bawling. And I was like, he's not even to the hard part yet. Like, he's not even to the end.
Yeah.
It's like when shadows are in there, like that muddy pit or whatever, and they can't get out kind of stuff. And then you see him coming over the hill at the end, and he's just like, it's like the ugliest cry you've ever seen. I don't know if I could watch that again. Like, I don't know if I could actually sit through it. I might internally combust if I watched it.
You know what? We're like on this movie run with the kids right now. I love like family movie time. It's just like when they're under 5, there's only so many movies that you can really choose from. I mean, I've told you this before. I get a little excited about someone where I'm like, I just got to show you this, even though you're probably not going to understand 90% of it. And so what I end up doing is like pausing the movie every 5 minutes. It's like, do you guys understand what's going on? Just like,
okay.
And like, and then I explain it and they're like, okay. And then I do that like throughout the whole movie. But we watched a movie the other day and we're doing like a lot of these, like little cartoon movies, right?
What is this one?
The Magician's Elephant. I'd never heard of this. 2023 movie. But this one at the end is a little tearjerker. I mean, and the whole family was just like wiping, we're just like, and then like trying to tell the kids like, it's okay to, like to feel sad during a movie, like just a movie, right? It's good, but it's good to feel the feelings, blah, 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 blah. But this was actually a dope movie. This is a good movie. Highly recommend if you've got kids. Highly recommend.
I'll keep this one.
The only thing that my gripe though with this and a lot of these movies that are made for kids, please tell me why it's always necessary to mention killing, like KILL.
Yeah.
Like throughout, it's like, dude, how the kids don't need this. You know what I mean? Like there could be something simpler to explain here. But
let's not go back to the 90s then.
I'm off. Yeah, I'm off my high horse. I'm just saying that like that was a really good one and a tearjerker too. And I was like, I think that was like the first movie where we were all like kind of watching. We're just like, oh my god.
I mean, if we go back to the trauma of the 90s, it's like baked in. It's like every movie had to start with something absolutely terrible, like Bambi, Land Before Time. Like you can't
Bambi.
You can't make it out of you couldn't make it out of the first 10 minutes without like some of the closest human, like the closest relationship you could have just being severed. And then it's like, the rest of the movie is it's all like, well, and it's like an happy and fun,
an animal too. Cause it's like, dude, innocent, like just don't, you know what I mean? Like Lion King, Air Bud, when he throws the ball, leaves him on the island. Like, come on, man.
There's so many bad ones, but it's the 90s. I don't know. I guess we were just, we were traumatized differently back then.
We were.
Just setting us up for lifelong trauma that we could just process differently because it's been exposed.
And now our cathartic experience is just sharing it with everybody else. We're just projecting.
Yeah. Dad just sneezed. It's okay. He's not really, that's not the waterworks running down his face. Don't worry. He's not saying happy tears.
Happy tears.
Happy tears.
Yes. Happy tears, man. Well, I think a little segue here. I think I got some little happy tears with this one because we're going to do this episode diving into nodes and getting in further with Weavy workflows, specifically Figma Weave now. This is something that people have been requesting for a while. And we had sort of like several guests in a row. We couldn't get it, right away, but we did have that episode a while back, maybe a month and a half back now, where we showed a little bit of something there. We were kind of going through it and people spoke up and said, you guys need to do a whole episode on this. So we're like, say less. Done. So I think today we're going to get deep into that. Like we're going to go super deep into that. Shout out to Figma Weave as well. Cause I think it's, it's just an awesome tool, but I think the people behind it too, we've got special relationships with both of them because I think they are a perfect example of people behind a brand that are extremely relatable and care about the people promoting their stuff. And that's not true for a lot of these other companies. It feels much more transactional, but shout out to their team. I mean, they're amazing folks over there.
Yeah. And that's why we figured we'd partner with them on this video and get a little bit more in the weeds. And speaking of being just like a human in the AI world, I woke up to this one day. It was a handwritten note from the Weave team. They sent it to me in a bunch of onesies when they heard I had my son, or my wife had my son. I did nothing in the of the sort.
Thanks for qualifying that, bro.
Yes, you never feel more useless than a man in a delivery room. You're just there, and it's like, don't move, don't speak, don't breathe, don't sneeze. We'll handle all of this. And you're just like, okay.
Dude, that's so true.
What do I do with my hands? Like one of those things. But they sent me a handwritten note. They sent me onesies. I mean, like look. I consider them family at this point. They are really genuine people. They've been building this the right way. It's always been community focused, not glazing. This is reality. I'm sure anyone else who's interacted with them or their founding team or anyone that works there, specifically Netta, Ron, Itai, Lior, Jonathan, everyone, they're great. They're great people. They really want to make a good
shout
product.
Out Roy too.
Yeah, Roy too. Just want to make a great product and they want people to like it. And I think that's why it feels less transactional most of the times when you're dealing with them because they just, they want to build a good product. They got acquired in a year. Obviously did something right. Dude,
that was insane, right? Because like last year at this time, Rory, you are one of the few people that I think were talking about node-based systems across social platforms. Like there were, I think I could count on one hand. Like you were definitely one of them. You converted me onto it as well. Like once I kind of like stepped back into doing my own thing again and really trying to scale. Like I remember you spent like a whole session with me, just kind of like getting me up to speed on that stuff. But a year ago this time, nobody was talking about this stuff. A year has gone by, and this is such a core part of a lot of individuals' process, teams' process. You and I have both worked with clients that want sort of these build outs, these workflows, and we're gonna get into all of it today. We're gonna get into the tool itself, why teams or individuals need to be using a tool like this, right? The capabilities that exist, like the actual benefits are there. We're going to get into, we might even do a live build here today. We're going to get into some of our workflows today and share those with you guys. So I think like we're going to try to cover all the bases here on this episode. So I'm pumped for this one.
Yeah, I think it's like, look, this is what gets used in production. There's a lot of other tools that we use. I mean, I use Claude every day. I use some of the other tools, right? But like, this is the one when I'm building something for production, systems for teams, things that people can reuse. It has the most sort of flexibility and customization outside of maybe Comfy, but I think that's where it fit a hole, right? Like Comfy is extreme, right? Like it's extreme. That's where I was like, yes, we can build these workflows, but it's like, can anyone operate them once they're built? Does anyone understand what's going on? Can you tell a traditional, designer or marketing team what is going on in this Comfy workflow? Or do you need an engineer to understand what's going on in this workflow, right? So what they did was they stripped it back. They made it very easy and visual, and it's digestible. There's a time and place for every sort of tool and sort of infrastructure that you're building. But this one, when you need something to get scaled across more than yourself, you need something that's easy and so not going to say easy, something that is like digestible. And that's where they fit, and that's why it works so well. A lot of different people resonate with node-based workflows. There's people in post-production, people in 3D, VFX, designers, things of that nature. So it's familiar, but it's also, in a visual space that makes it look somewhat appealing as well. So, I think the relationship with Figma too is going to be really interesting. We're just starting to see sort of the whole thing come together now and how it's going to work and how it's going to look. They presented a lot of stuff at Config on like the future of the releases and how this stuff's going to be integrated. So it's going to be, more integrated than I probably thought in the beginning, but I think there's a lot of stuff that we can do with it now. And I keep finding new uses for it. And it's it's also like my favorite new little thing now with the release of the MCP to just like give Claude little tools that I build in Weave. It doesn't have to be like these giant workflows. It can just be like, it can be like all right, here's a reversioning workflow. Take this asset and scale it into 9 different aspect ratios. The workflow is already built. I just send Claude the picture. It just goes and does it. It's like now it's like a little extension for Claude, right? I don't have to leave Claude. It'll just go do it and Weave and come back, deliver it, right? So there's a lot of different ways to use it, and I think that's the one thing that should probably hit on a bunch of that is that it's not. You don't have to use it one way or the other. You can use it however the hell you want to. You can use it for systems. You can use it for design. You can use it for doing your own thing. You can use it for testing. You can use it for, just going absolutely crazy and doing node explosion in there. But it's sort of, if there's a creative way to use it, and then there's a more like engineering systemed way to use it. So I think we're trying to hit both. If we accomplish that, we're doing pretty damn good on this one,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. And I mean, let's touch on this for a second. You brought up, systems, scaling, right? Like, why should somebody be using a node-based tool in the first place? I think like let's start there too and unpack that, because at the end of the day, like one of the foundational elements of this is you're getting essentially an aggregator of all of these tools. So instead of all these individual subscriptions that you might have, everything's in one place. That saves you a ton of money. Like I'm just thinking about that from the personal creator side, let alone, working in house somewhere where you're trying to justify maybe everything under a budget. Like, why do we need 5 tools, 6 tools to do this? Well, you got one that can probably do a lot. So it's the model aggregation, the subscription costs. You're also, I think, getting to try a lot of these tools, right, without a strong commitment to any particular model or tool too, right? So like the LLM side, right, you get to test different LLMs. The image side, you get to test Banana versus ChatGPT versus Reeve or something else. Image side or video side, same thing, right? And so you're kind of getting exposure to all these tools at scale, which is very much aligned to this idea that you should not be really confined to any specific tool, right? You need to be a little bit tool agnostic and understand maybe the differences between the tools, what tools do better than others, the use cases for those. But this opens up the lane for that. So I think like that alone is a big thing to note, is just the idea that you can put all these things together. And then, the second part of that is what you mentioned, Rory. Like if you're trying to build a system in-house, or maybe you are the person that's going to integrate that somewhere in-house, how do you activate people? How do you activate a team? So there's going to be the learning curve of one tool versus 5 or 6 tools. And in order to move fast, right, you need to almost create templated use cases. And doing things like this gives you a templated use case where people can build on the same foundation. And so people aren't working in disconnected or disjointed fashions, are working in the same space, and they're working from the same templates, and they're working from the same concepts, right? And so this pulls all of those pieces in place. And there's a big difference between creating a one-off asset or a couple of 5 assets versus creating hundreds or even thousands of assets.
And I think that's from a internal and a scale process too. The good thing is like not everyone has to learn this stuff, right? Like you can have someone that's really good at building these things and they can deploy these tools that everyone can just use in a very simple way, right? Like so the example with that being like with the Weave workflows that you create, they don't have to be run individually. You don't have to go and click every button. If they're systemed and engineered correctly, you might just need to put in an image and like either type something or select something and push go. And then it runs through the whole process. But again, you might not have to build that. Someone could build that on your team and be like, here, take this and do it. Like I'm going to keep coming back to the asset reversioning thing because I think this was just always a pain in the ass as a designer. It was like, oh, I have this asset in 1:1 aspect ratio. Now I need it in 9:16, 3:4, 2:1, 4:3, whatever, right? Like, and you used to have to go and manually do all that. Now we can just scale it out, make it one click, and it'll go do it to all of them. Now that can also then be a tool that you've create, like harden, and then be like, here, just send that link to someone, and they just put their image in and hit go, and that's it. So like they don't have to worry about building it every time. Like not everyone has to be the systems engineer. You can have one person that does it, and then everyone else can feast off of it. So it's and like that's the other thing too that we're definitely going to get into is like when do you need when is it good and like what are good places for this? Because I think what I see a lot of most of the time, people try to like way over engineer, like get these giant node strings, and it's like, well, one thing breaks in the middle, and then the rest of it doesn't work. It's like sometimes it's easier, like with these tools function, this tool function now, to have 5 tools,
micro, yeah,
and then just be like, oh, run it to this one, run it to this one, run it to this one, run it to this one. If you're using this whole MCP thing, we're going to have to get into it a little bit more because there's so much to unpack with like how this can all start to be strung together in like multi-step processes. But even just starting with an empty canvas you got here, like this is a this is a good
and
one.
I think like just like backing out of this, right? Like we were just talking about all the different capabilities within here. I mean, this is the toolbox. I mean, you can literally do just about anything you want in here. I mean, you've got sort of like these traditional like photo elements, right, where you can resize and crop and composite, right? And then you've got, sort of like these masks. You've got text tools if you're getting into ads or text in general. You've got iterations. You've got all these other things that are sort of like the connecting dots. You've got the image models, which go on for days. You've got, the edit capability within those. So Nano, ChatGPT, right? You've got, I mean, there's so many, I'm just like,
so much.
I'm glancing over this, but there's a lot in here, right? In painting, out painting, background
3D,
removal, wear fill,
audio,
3D, audio. upscaling images. Like magnificent here, the video element. I mean, so like this is literally like your one-stop shop type of deal. And so to your point, like again, like zooming out from this, if you're ever integrating AI and adopting AI inside of a business is already tough as it is, right? Because if you're not hiring outside help, you need somebody internal that is really going to be your advocator and like the implementer and the mover of these things. And so how do you eliminate friction? Well, one of the best ways is if you've got a tool that then can take advantage of all these other capabilities because you're flattening the learning curve and you're reducing friction, right? There's not all these bottlenecks that you have to get up to. Like, these are the things I'm always thinking about whenever I work with clients too, is just like, how do I activate new employees or people that just maybe they're not savvy with AI, right? It's like, well, I got to like flatten this curve as much as I can. Things like this do that job very well.
This just reminded me from a couple episodes ago when people asked to show like business cases or like the business stuff of like how we're doing this, right? One of the things that I gained traction with when early on, when this was just new, no one even, what is this spaghetti string sort of canvas that we got going on here when I send this to people? It was like, here, this is like we had a conversation. We talked about what your problems were, what you guys were trying to fix, how you might be interested in AI, what parts there were. I would just build a workflow in Weavy after that call and then like send it to them and be like, hey, solved it. Like free, right? Like a lot of times it was something small, but it was just to show that it could be really simple. Like here, just like put your image in, push go, watch what happens. And then, most of the time that as a sales piece, that's like, okay, what else can we do? Like that's sort
show
of like
instead of tell too. Yeah. You're like, you're providing the proof. You've done this enough times where it's not a big lift for you, but it's a major thing for them.
And selling this stuff in to businesses as well for anyone who's interested in this and doing it maybe on their own. I've always had more success simpler. Like don't show the crazy 50 group node package that gets you to the end result. Like that is so intimidating and it feels so out of touch for most people that don't understand what this stuff is. When you can solve really simple problem, like I said, I'll say it a million times on this podcast, the asset resizing thing, like here it is. You put your image in, you push go, you get 10 new images that are resized to the right specs and everything fits. And it's like, oh, that's cool. Or if you want to localize text, right? Like if it's like, oh, here's my copy, I want to localize it to 5 different languages, right? You show someone that can be done in 1 second and it's just like, oh, I get this now. This is basically we're building little tools, not here's this giant graph of stuff that you can do in all these crazy, branches. It's like, keep it simple, show the value, solve simple problems, and the big problems will come after that. You can, have the time to work on that. So little sidebar. I know people have asked us about this, but a lot of times in my sales process, I was giving away free workflows early on.
Yeah.
Like just free ones. Just like, try it out. Let me know if it works. And then they come back like, that was great. How do we get more of this? Slide right in. So
brands pay some money for this too, guys. I mean, this is 5-figure stuff. So, I mean, this matters. This speaks the language. I think you brought a really good point up, which I don't think a lot of people, even that are playing with this, are thinking about, which is micro. Yeah, like those big things look impressive, but when you present that after they're like, whoa, their second thought is like, oh shit, there's no, like, how the fuck am I going to do this? Right? Like, there's no way. So just the practicality of handing off and almost like categorizing use cases is a better way to organize sort of this change management as it stands right now, right? And because there are going to be obvious use cases that you know of offhand, and then there are going to be some that you discover later down the road. But again, if you were to trip up anywhere along the road of like this big wired piece, it kind of sucks having to like zoom in and look at through all that stuff, right? And so, to make it very simple is the shortcut and is the hack here.
This is actually what you just said was good because I want to show you how, like, and then, dovetailing on what I just said, starting small and then how this scales. Like, I'll show some examples from, real quick. I'll just show like what that looked like at SharkNinja when we first went in there over a year ago. All right. You tell me if you can see this. Can we see this?
We got it.
Cool. Right. So Shark, and I'm pulling up slides because it's actually in my Figma presentation, but it makes sense, right? Like when you hear the context of why it's needed, then you're like, okay, I start to understand, like, we've created this situation ourselves, right? Like whenever I say, whenever like, why do you have to use AI? I'm like, because we've created the environment where it's necessary. It's, someone like Shark, they're huge, right? Like they're absolutely massive. They have hundreds of products. They have 25 categories, 35 global markets, right? So think about that from a localization standpoint. They also launch 25 new products a year, and they do 300 unique videos every year of pieces of content. That's insane. Just like extrapolate all of those out, like times each one of them by each other. And that's how many assets you have to produce, right? So again, getting that traditionally done, there's a way to do it, but there's also like a way that you can use AI in this, right? So that's one of those things. And like localization, that was what they came to be originally for. I'm showing slides, guys, because it's just easy to like understand the story. But like this stuff, what works in the US, right? If I show a picture of a product in a US suburban home, it looks radically different than what it looks like in Paris or Germany. Like it's a different design aesthetic, it's a different preference, right? Like people don't have giant suburban homes in in Paris. I'm using this generally. I understand everything's different. Don't come after me. But like that doesn't make sense for a flat in, the middle of Paris that's like 200 square feet, right? Like it's a different environment, right? So what we started with was like, all right, here was the problem. How do we sell this? Like, how do we get this into the team? Because everyone's a little bit apprehensive. How do we use this stuff? How do we get in there? Right. So retouching was the first thing. We had these older photo shoots that were not getting utilized. They were stuff that had been scrapped. There was things that were wrong. They spent money on it. It was just basically sitting in the vault, not getting utilized. So like, all right, so let's show an example of that. Like, how do we take, these products here that we saw that were, some of these shots that they didn't love. There was like, they were like, we hate this fence cutting through this guy's head. The lighting's bad. It feels like it's very like hollow in here and not real.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, let's just change. The first thing I did was like, all right, let's just change this hero angle, right? Let's just drop it down 30 degrees, come and push up closer, make the lens wider, and we'll remove the fence in the back. Bang. And I was like, oh, we can do that. It's like, yes. I was like, oh, we can change the lighting. And again, we're talking about, this is before Nano Banana came out. We were like using LM Arena on some of these to be like, or LLM Arena to be like, well, maybe we'll get that thing called Nano Banana before we was Google, because it works really well, right? So this sort of like fed the rest of it. Then it became the localization. Like, all right, how do we take all the different ecom assets? You go to a product page on ecom, right? Typically, there's like 8 to 10 different product shots. They all tell a different story. It comes from marketing. Each one of them has a brief. They're all part of different, descriptive sort of process. It's like, oh, we need to show this one because this one shows us, that it can be packed in a bag. It's portable, right? Like they'll give you that sort of like as a brief. Then also like we want to show that it can cook from frozen to real. Like it doesn't have to be defrosted, right? So you have like all these different ways to show these images. But, fried chicken in the US might not fly from the US might not fly in Germany. They might not be at, it might be more like schnitzel there, right? Or it might be more something else. So again, like we're being able to take all these different pieces that we might have the same brief for and then localize them to whatever it is. That's where it started to expand to, right? Then we started being like, oh, could we use old compositions that we like, turn them into sketches, rebuild new products into it, environment fixes. Like we were getting things back from, legal and the product team. Oh, this thing doesn't work good on bumpy rugs. Can we flatten the rugs? Right? Like simple things like that. Or like, can we just composite and change the color of the product and product swap? Like these are these little places that you wouldn't think all the time. We have things like this. It was like, oh, we need to create these thick cut French fries. Great. Let's put them in the dish. But also like, how do we make sure that the fries can sit in this type of dish all the time? So we can basically remove the dish and then we take these fries and utilize them as other assets. So we keep the references so we can build asset libraries, right? And then there's then there's more full campaign style aesthetic where we're doing more things that you guys have seen before in the past. But like, this is just a good way to show how it starts with one thing. And then there's all these little areas, right? It can go into video where it's, localization here. Instead of it being the US, it can be somewhere maybe in the UK. Simple things. We're swapping in one frame and that's really it, right? things here where we're taking older assets, swapping products. The hybrid stuff is really cool. Make things seasonal. There's a lot of different uses for it, and it's not like we're building giant workflows there. It's really little pieces that help in the day to day for all the things that need to get done. Right?
And they're recurring, right? Roy? I mean, like these are
Yes.
things that they're going to need again. So, like if you're thinking of a one-off ad hoc asset, maybe that's not a good use case. But anything that you're doing twice, three times, more than that, and you've got things that are interchangeable, this is where this wins, right? Like this is where the systems are needed. This is where you can really win because you're solving a problem, you're front loading it, and then from there it just runs. I love front loaded work. Like I've always been a big fan of front loaded work. I love just doing something, spending extra time on it up front, and then knowing that the rest I'm just gliding downhill like you're on a bike. You're just like, all right, baby, here we go. Like everything else is easier. All you might have to make an adjustment, but like that's so helpful for a lot of people. People don't want to do tasks more than once and become real menial and meticulous with these things. Like that's why it's important too.
100%, dude. Because that's what I think, how many times do you do this now where you're just like, I've done this one time and then it comes up again. I'm like, I'm just building a skill for this. I'm not doing this again ever. So,
well, and like, let's be honest too, like how much can you actually hold in your memory now with like how much we're doing with AI? If you haven't done a use case and let's just say 2 or 3 months and it goes by and then all of a sudden you need it again, you don't have to rethink it. You've already got it. Right? Like,
so maybe we should build something real quick, just for anyone who's not familiar with the tool.
Let's do that. I think that would be helpful. Let's build something live and you guys can kind of follow us along. Rory can talk through too, like, what some of these things do and why he's making the selections that he's making, right? Like just kind of get into the thought process behind it as well while we're doing it, because I think by now we've hammered home the importance and the benefits of doing this, right? But now sort of like into the meat of it, how those things connect. And obviously we're probably talking to a couple different people here on this episode, right? There's some people that have never been in here. There's some people that have probably been in here like in a commuter fashion, right? Like from time to time. And there are some people that are locals that are in here all the time. So we're going to try to hit all three of these. But I think connecting that dot, like just very specifically and precisely will help.
Yeah. And I think it's, a lot of the best ways to work in here is like, oh, let me just, I have this idea. Can I get from point A to point B by using the tools? And then once you do it, it's like working backwards from there. Like, how do I take this out of the process? Like I used a manual prompt here. How do I turn that into an LLM that's doing it? And it does it every time, right? So that how do you take like all the variables that are like that you did, all the decisions you made, and then how do we make that a system, right? Does it need to branch this way, or was that just me testing something? So again, you have the ability to go in here and use all these damn tools, which I love having them. I love just having things in here that I didn't know I needed. A lot of times like color correction, levels, things like that. There's this alpha masking and things that you just somehow you come across them and you're like, all right, I need them. Right. So
they're even like if stuff that would be in Photoshop or Lightroom that are right here.
Yeah. So like, let's just start. Let's just do like a couple icons or something like that, just so people get an idea. Right. So just drop a prompt in here and then like we'll go through a couple different things that we can do. Let's just do, isometric 3D apple in chunky pixel block style, isolated, a white background. Let's just start here. Let's do Flux maybe. Flux. Let's do Flux 2.
This is also like one of those things where, hey, you're not sure what image model to use? It doesn't cost me a lot to just run those against each other. Let me speed run 4 or 5 different image models and see what best interprets that particular ask, right? Like there's a difference between photorealism and these other styles. Maybe you got a model that you really like for photorealism. Maybe you got a different one for isometric icons like we're talking about here. Like, but you can test them really quick.
Ones that are fast, right? Like I just want to use stuff that's fast right now, like for this. But maybe I'm going to go over here, change this to, just square. Let's see what comes out, because then we can take this and we can go in a million different directions with it. Like maybe you're developing stuff for a website or for a presentation. Like, all right, cool. So here's here's the apple, right? Like we did that. Like, can we edit it? Let's do, Nano Banana 2 here. Just drop this in. Nano Banana 2, let's drop. And this is showing like what we're doing here is basically like stream of consciousness, like work. If concepting work, things like that, like I would do this first. If you're new to this stuff, you're not really familiar, and then go back and systematize it, right? An example of that would be like, all right, now I see how this came out. Now I want to create like a little system prompt here that I would say, basically into this every time. But no matter what, I might make this a variable, right? So that it could be a banana, coconut, whatever. And it would come out exactly like this every time. So then that's a workflow, right? Then you just type in apple and the rest of it goes. Not, I have to write this every time. I have to add this node every time, right? So that's sort of the thinking when you're doing this stuff for scale. So if you say like, let's make this reflective.
Just like tactically too, you can literally just drag and highlight something and copy and paste it to create a new one, right? So if you've got, like, to your point, if you want multiple, boxes, let's just say you're running different models of, instead of Flux, you're going to run 4 other ones. You just copy paste. Okay, change the model, right? It's there. So like just little shortcuts like that. And then, just for our beginners out there, like everything is connecting. So, the way that this is laid out is done really well because you've got sort of these color coordinated nodes that exist, right? So your pink one here is connecting to a prompt level, and then your green one is connecting to sort of like the image itself, and it labels those things. That may seem a little bit overwhelming, or you're not sure about it at first if you're a beginner here, but it's very simple. Each model that you choose, whether it's an image model or a video mod or whatever, those different node elements may change, and it captions them in terms of what to connect. So that is not a hard thing, just to call that out.
Yeah. So you're seeing here, we're running this same prompt 3 times. We get 3 different options here, right? Like I might actually like these more. I should probably stop this and use this image, right? Okay. Like I can, right now this image is connected here. Let's drop this one in right here, right? So let's use that one instead. You have options. You can do this. You don't have to just stick with what you've engineered. You can move it around, right? So typically Nano Banana is really fast. Because we're doing it live, of course, this will take forever. All right, cool, right? Reflective Chrome, good enough for now. Right now we have this. So let's just say I wanted to then make this somewhat like an asset. Let's make this let's add another prompt here. Stick this in. Let's do a perfect 360 degree or 360 degree rotation. And then we'll go to let's just use Grok. Grok's typically really fast. It's another thing to know, right? If I'm testing, a lot of times I'll use Grok because you can get token pour in here or credit pour in here real quick. If you're just like, oh, let me run 17 different instances of C dance at one time. So there goes your month, maybe 2. But
this is a really good, also, by doing things this way, this is a really good testing ground for new tools, right? Yes. Like Weave is really fast with importing new tools as they come live, right? So like, I don't know, C Dance 2.5, as soon as that came out, right? Usually within hours, maybe a day or 2, right? Like they've got it in there. And so you're getting to test the new tools in real time as well. I know that's always like probably a challenge too for other people, is like, where do I go to use this new tool? Like, so again, like this kind of keeps things in one place for you and gives you the ability to test those.
So what, all right, so let's just see what Grok did for us here. All right, so we got this 3D rotating, pixel apple, right? Great. Now, let's just say we wanted to, all right, I want to stylize this or something like that. This is where I love this new tool, Gen Effect node. Like Gen Effect can come in. What this is, you can tell it to do whatever you want. It's going to create like a shader, almost like a shader in, Figma standpoint. So I don't know, what do we want to do? Maybe a half tone or something like that, or maybe
yeah.
Let's see.
That'd be dope.
Actually, hold on. I did one the other day. This should be cool. I'll show us how to do it, but I just want to pull this one. Remember the Game Boy camera from back in the day?
Game Boy camera?
No, all right. This one,
No.
This one was good. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Game Boy camera. There we go.
Game Boy camera.
I'm just going to copy this one just so we have it, but we can go and look at it over here.
Yeah, that's dope though.
See how this works. Let's see. Where's my art?
I think this is a really cool new feature, right? Because we always talk about like, how do you make things feel customized? And you do have some ability within, the models to do that to some degree, right? Like there technically are thousands, millions, I don't know, dare I say billions of styles that exist, right? But like finishing this off, making it custom, tailoring it to maybe different surfaces or different campaigns. Maybe there are things there that you can really add. And this I think adds a nice little customization element once you get to the finish line of something, right? Where you can really make it unique or yours. And so you're just doing this with a prompt, right? Like, so this is with the Gen effect stuff, you're basically just describing what that effect is, right? You want grunge style scratches over there. You want like I don't know, like a grain, noise, all that stuff.
So I'm just pasting in the prompt that I used to create this. This is a long one. It doesn't have to be like this, right? Like I had Claude do this. You can also add an image reference for what you're looking for. But the whole general idea here is you just hit that and then it'll go and start creating. But let's see, go back. I'll just grab the actual node. I feel like we're doing like a cooking show here. Like where it's like, here, put it in the oven, and then like they reach in the oven 2 seconds later, it's done.
Yo, hey, one other thing to call out too, right? Like you've got the LLMs in here. We say this from time to time, use AI to use AI, right? Have it rewrite prompts for you. Like I know when I've used this too, like I love having almost like a prompt template. Like, so we're talking about like, you've got something here with the apple. But again, like if I want to make variations and just change that object, but I want it to be that same style, right? Like establishing that up front through the LLM and, the system prompt becomes very important here. I guess what I'm trying to say is if you're unsure and you're not a prompt expert or engineer in that sense, like let AI guide you with the prompt. Have it develop that look for you, right? You could provide maybe a visual example of that and bring that into something like this directly, or you could take that and take it into an LM and have it describe what that, effect is, right? So then you know how to prompt for it. Like there are just several different ways to do it.
So now that we have it in here, right? Like we can see now that it's creating this sort of like Game Boy pixel effect. So let me take the noise off so we can see it, right? And then it's like, all right, cool. Now if I want to, it's giving me, because I asked for all this stuff, it's giving me like the block size so I can change sort of the pixelation, like the exposure, we can bring it down if we want to. Change the shadows.
Dialed, right? Really dialed.
Right. It's like fun to then play with. And then, let's see, fix sensor integrity. Let's turn maybe bring this back a little bit. Let's just say I like it like that. The other thing I love doing now with this stuff is I have the toolbox.
You've also got a reference. So assuming you like this and you're going to do this for a campaign and you're going to do this for several things, now you've got something that is tangible and templatized. So you don't have to worry about somebody else, creating something that doesn't quite look right. You've got the references now. They're locked in.
And I love this so I can see sort of what it looks like.
Oh, that's dope.
On both sides, right? This can also be, take this asset right here, turn it into, if you really want it to be a 3D asset, you can just go into, some of the 3D tools here that we have. All right, let's just make this, whatever, the Meshy V6. I mean, I'll run this in the background. And we're doing this crazy, guys. Like this is just really shorthand, but just showing sort of like the way that you can go to these things pretty quick. Let's just see if this will run without me having to do anything. Now, if we want to do the same thing, right? Like you might just go and be like, all right, I want to take this image and let's just say I don't like this one anymore and I don't like this one anymore. Great. Now we're starting to like trim it back. So we have our, this is how we create our image over here. This is how we create our, our texture. This is how we create our video. And this is how we have the, the effect, right? But if you want to go change this and you go scale this to be like, let's go, this is going to be an orange. This is going to be a banana in this style. This is going to be a coconut, whatever. And then apply the same exact things here. I don't know if this rock video have a seed. I don't know if it has a seed. But again, I would use the same thing. And it could be the same way. And then you have a whole asset set of these spinning, sort of Game Boy camera things, right? And you can change it. And once you do, something to one, it does it to the whole thing. We can add more to it, right? And then you can see sort of what the difference is over here. But this is just a perfect example of the I'm going to get in here and free create and just do something random. And then, you could end up with a 3D asset and spinning Game Boy camera image by 5 minutes in here. So this is not the extreme version. We're not taking this that far. Again, I just want to make that very clear. This is just how you get started by doing this stuff. If I wanted to go back and systematize this so that this would happen for any object or any sort of thing that I put in here, I would write this prompt more extreme, right? And then I would be, I'd add more into the prompt here, like, the prompt rules. I'm just putting this here as an example. And then like I would go here and let's just go to prompt, right? And then this could be, let's just say this is whatever you want to insert here, car. And then maybe I would put that right there. So let's just make this the variable. Drop it in. Put this right here. And now this is depending on whatever it is, whatever you change it. So isometric airplane. Now that's injected, right? So that can be changed, right? That whatever you need that to be, or then like the prompt rules, if you need them to change every single time, or this is maybe like your style, the style of the prompt that you're trying to be in here. Like, I'm adding my prompt style, right? And this could go right there. So whatever you're doing, like this is going to do the same thing now. All you have to do is change this. Once you get the system prompt down and you know what these variables are, then, we'll get into the system prompting stuff, which is where LLMs are going to come in handy. Then it's, you can basically have a workflow. And this is something, now we also have a 3D asset over here if we wanted to go play with this. This is something that we did in 5 minutes. Is it great? No, but can we go use this in a compositor? Yes. Like we can go put this in the rest of the scene if we had another scene where we wanted to place this, right? If we wanted to go put this on a countertop or an environment, we can go do that. There's a lot of different things that you can do here. We can also even, from this video, right? We can take this and color correction. Let's say we didn't like the colors here. We want to make it a little bit more vivid before we run it through this gen effect, even though it's going to take all the color out, just showing a different way to do this, right? Like we can change the exposure, the contrast, change the saturation a little bit, maybe make this more blue, give it more pink tint here, give it some highlights, some shadows, right? So we can definitely play with this in a lot of different ways. Just showing one simple way to get in here and start like making stuff. That's where it all starts. Then once you realize, I can make stuff, then you just go, right? So
that's like that's the friction, right? Like people that haven't been in here yet, it feels overwhelming. Where do I start? This is how you get started.
Yes. So this is as simple as it gets. Then we can kind of keep pushing from there. Like this is how I think everyone starts. Right? You start with kind of like, let me just drop some stuff in here, see where I go. How does this work? How does this fly? Because then it's like, now I need to build systems.
if you're doing it for the first time, like the best way is to give yourself a little assignment, something that just comes to mind that you want to create. And you actually did that for me when I was just starting with this. You just said, I think like come up with, can't you remember what you said? You're just like different angles of a character and do this and that and the other. And it's like, okay, and so I had sat with you, we had gone through it, but like the hardest part is just getting started. So we tried to cover that here, right? Like just getting going. And I don't know if I'm, jumping ahead here, but like this was this might've been the first thing I created in here actually, which is still like an awesome example. I'll show this from time to time for people that really aren't familiar too with what's possible in here. But this is really cool because like it's just this idea that you can create net new assets in perpetuity. And this applies in so many different ways, right? We talked about the micro use cases. This is a little bit less of a micro use case in that this may seem a little bit overwhelming to some, but the idea itself is very simple, right? What if I was a clothing brand and I had, an outfit or attire or a piece of clothing that I wanted to showcase? Okay. And then let's just say I had a model, whether that be real or not. I think like the fact that you have a real model is probably even more valuable, right? Because you could capture a model now and think about having them sign a release where you can create new images of them from different perspectives or in different locations. Okay, I've got
I
my
would love to get
model.
royalties that way.
Dude, I mean, like,
do whatever you want with me. I don't care.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. Like, and so like that way also you're working off real material here. So I like for this example, for this assignment, I just went on Pinterest. But basically I came up with 3 ideas, 3 core pieces of this, right? The outfit, the person, the location. Okay. And then combine those into one image. It's not connected here because I think I did this like outside of that, but you can actually do that here as well, right? With just Nano Banana or whatever the model is that you're using. And then once I have this, right, I've established my core piece that I'm going to use throughout this. And I've got sort of this prompt. And this is where it came down to sort of like what you were telling me. You're just like, hey, like think about different perspectives or angles. So it's like I wanted to kind of like go really wide with this. I wanted to test a lot of different angles too to see how they would be interpreted. So describe 20 distinct camera angles for each scene, highlighting the element from the image, capturing the look and feel, keep every description under 30 words, separate each with an asterisk. This is your little thing right here. The way that you like to set this up. So essentially, then I have this prompt and I have this image and I'm connecting it to an LLM node now. And so this piece is key with separate each with an asterisk because it's then creating sort of like these breaks in each of the 20, right? So I've got a close up, I've got a mid shot, I've got an aerial high angle, right? And now I've got these established because once I click this, it's going to give me those camera angles. But I can also say, hey, look, like maybe some of these aren't quite as distinct enough. Maybe there are 2 that like just don't feel right. And I can either regenerate that or I can just pull from other material and just say, no, I want a low angle shot. I want to do like, something from like an aerial shot. Maybe that didn't list it here. Okay. And then we get into this part here. I mean, maybe this is getting a little technical. Maybe we're getting a little ahead here, but essentially getting into something called array, which then separates these out by that asterisk mark, which that was such an awesome idea by Rory to set that up that way. And then I've got this piece right here, which is these 20 boxes that you'll see here, but these are lists, right? So now I can just go and select which of those camera angles it's taking. Then I'm driving that over here, right? Where I've got the 20 different angles. So I'm creating 20 different image, boxes. And I'm making sure like when I click that first one, right, which model I want. Also, I did state the aspect ratio originally, but you can also change that here. And now all I'm doing is once I've got these 20 boxes is highlighting this and then I can just hit run. Right, it's going to tell you how many credits it's going to take up. Boom, right, done. And so, like, the scalability of this is, well, what if I don't like one of these images? I just select it and rerun it.
Go back and change that prompt. You can see it. It's right there. It's listed. Yeah,
it's all right there. And maybe what you do before you do the 20 is maybe test 2 or 3. See if it interprets it the right way first, right before you spend all the credits. And then it's like, okay, yep, head in the right direction. Let me run the rest. I love how simple it is here. All I got to do is drag, run, boom, right? And so it's just like, this is insanely powerful for a number of reasons, right? But like if you're a fashion brand or something like that, you could take one existing image that you have, or maybe there was a missing image or camera angle or the lighting wasn't great or something like that, that now I can just create from. And I don't have to send the photographer back out there. I don't have to spend additional money re-renting the studio space or doing this. Or maybe I've got like this shirt, Rory, and I forgot to do a colorway with it, but I've got the hex codes or the color codes for those, and I can just swap in the color codes, right? Or I've got a different hat that I want to show on that same outfit that's in my inventory, or I've got different colorways or variations of this Nike shoe that we offer on our site, right? Like, so you can quickly see how you can scale this across. And it's extremely powerful because a lot of these companies that are spending a lot of money on photo shoots now, is the photo shoot still necessary? I think in a lot of ways it still is to some degree. But now you don't need as much starting material, and you can fill in these gaps, and you can scale into net new, opportunities in perpetuity very quickly. So it kind of comes down to like just having, a single product shot or several shots of that same product around, so you get all of that tangible material about the product so that it's transferable and can be scaled without, any of these models hallucinating it. And that's also how you keep the accuracy of it.
So I think you highlighted something there, going back to might as well go through it. The array stuff, right? Let me just take over on this one, and I'll go, because this one, we'll build it. We'll build it live. You can see how to build.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it.
A batch processing engine. We'll do it again, super shorthand. A lot of this stuff has to get dialed in. I spend way more than the 5 seconds you're seeing on this, doing this kind of stuff, right? So let's maybe just duplicate this. We'll bring this down. Like that batch processing engine is great because it'll have like multiple things. You'll get multiple outputs with one click, right? So let's say we wanted to use our Apple asset here, and we wanted to make it into 3 different things, right? So let's just write a prompt. We're going to try and figure out how to do this on the fly, make it not crazy and make you guys sit here. But apple, and turn it into an orange, a banana, and what's a good fruit? Give me a fruit. What was I use?
Kiwi.
Kiwi. Good one.
Kiwi.
Kiwi. Let's see here. Write 3 prompts to preserve the exact style, placement, these fruits. This is where little system prompting comes in again. This would normally be, I'd be running this through Claude and just like tightening this, but we're writing this live. Like format or like output guidelines. Let's just say no additional commentary, just produce the prompts, and each prompt with an asterisk. You'll see why. And then each prompt should be 50 to 75 words. All right, so this is the prompt update. This is how I take one prompt and then turn it into multiple, right? This is the branching element. So if we do an LLM here, you can do run any LLM. Okay. So here, just connect the image, connect the prompt. This one should now, basically, you can select whichever model you want. Typically I just do Gemini because it's really fast. Here, there's different uses for all this. Claude is sometimes better. I like ChatGPT for a lot of things. For the purposes of this, I'm using Gemini because it's really fast. So let's just see if it does what I'm asking here. Hopefully it will.
What you said though is important though, which is like, if you think about it in terms of like a templated prompt, right? Where you want to include certain things each time based on the ask, right? Mm-hmm. You can quickly adapt that. And what Rory's saying is, just because we're doing this live, like normally he would spend some extra time just tightening down what exactly that framework of the template looks like to ensure he's covered everything that he wants to explicitly call out. Generally speaking, in a lot of these, the more sort of like structured and specific you can be, calling things out, do's and don'ts, the better. But again, like we're just kind of running with this on the fly, but that would be one of those pieces of it. Spend the extra time up front on, right? Outline those things. And also after you do this a few times, you're going to kind of know what those core pieces are.
So this goes back to what you were saying before, like with the array and the run, or with the array and the prompt splitting. Now I have 3 prompts in this one box, but there's only one output. So if I put it straight into, another Flux 2 node, right? It's basically going to run this as one prompt, and it's going to be like crazy, right? So we need to sort of decouple it from that sense. So, here, that's why you can run the array. There's a few ways to do this. Array is one, meaning like the reason we had this here, basically end each prompt with an asterisk, is so that when you connect this in here and it says split by asterisk, that'll turn it into 3 separate inputs. And then from there, you can do this. You can either run this straight into list selector, and that's one way to split these out. You can do, I like to do it this way. You can do it other ways.
You know what?
I like to see everything.
I like it this way too, because it breaks everything apart. So it feels more understandable of what's connecting to what. And I'm just speaking from like when you first get in here, that's the way it felt for me. It was just like, well, because I see 3 boxes there, I know what I'm getting. Like I've got 3 prompts there. And so just seeing that number match made it more digestible of what's going on.
So now we can run, this will be prompt 1, right? We'll just duplicate this 2 more times, right? We have our 2 and our 3, right? We'll make this one 2, this one, come on. And then we have our text prompts covered, but we also need our image in there. You can just go drag this straight over there, or you can use something that's like a little bit more maintenance specific. You can use a router, which will just like run this into here. So you don't have to run 3 specific strings over. You can just run it straight into that. And then just bang, bang, bang. And then you can run these all at once.
Is your last list connected to the image?
It's not. Good catch though.
Okay.
Let's see. We'll cancel this one once because there's another way to do this, right? You can do basically with the text iterator is the other thing here, where I'll show you the 2 branches of this. All right, let's just run this back, do this again. All right, so we're creating our pixel fruit. But this is one branch, right? Like you can do it this way with the array. This will split it out. Here's 3, 1, 2, 3, right? The prompts that it's creating runs the 3 separate nodes. This is if you want to keep things a little bit tighter. Text iterator. It's the same thing as the array, except it does array and list in the same thing. So when you connect text or array into here, split by this, you have your 3 prompts. It's all broken out. And then if I do Flux Pro 2 here, right? Make it closer so we can see it. Hit the run model. And this will now run all 3 at once in this node.
So it's just going to tab with the arrow, right? Showing there's 3 images. Okay, yeah.
This way, oh God, I forgot to connect the thing. See, so sometimes, moving too fast, you have no sleep. You're doing dumb stuff. I'm moving fast and not thinking because we're doing this live, of course. But regardless, it's still going to show up the same way. It's running all 3 in here, and you can toggle through whether you want to look at them all together, you want to look at individual by batch, and then if you wanted to, let's just say break these out, and I'll use these as individual nodes now, or all individual inputs. You can go here, and you can create, either you can unpack, right, which will break all these out, and then you have them all as individual input nodes, or individual upload nodes, or you can turn this into an image iterator, which is like, okay, now if we put in 5 of these images and we said, make this all Chrome, right? Like if I ran this thing now through our prompt up here, make this all Chrome, it would run all 5 at the same time, do that system prompt. So again, ways to do batch processing. But these 2 things right here, this is like this is like an engine. I plug this thing into everything that I do, where it's either, prompt and then into any LLM, into array, into list, into batch, or, prompt and then like a system prompt, right? Which might be way more extreme, which is what I'm doing more so of now.
Hey, Rory, just for people that are newer to it, explain the difference between prompt and system prompt really quickly, just so they can help delineate between the 2.
Correct. So, okay. Prompt here, I'm running this directly into the run any LLM, right? So this is going into the prompt section the same way that you would do in ChatGPT. Claude, here's my prompt. Claude goes and answers. System prompt is what works behind the scenes to tell Claude how to respond or what to do every single time, or how to make ChatGPT do that every time. So if I want to take these, this would probably be more so suitable for the system prompt. Right? Let's do this.
Rules, structure, guidance,
how you want it to output, how it should output every time, how it should, how many characters should it be? How do we want this to, if you want it to be more creative, right? In Drew's example, it's like, okay, I want to do 20 shots, but like of the 20 shots, maybe 5 should be close up, 5 should be long shot, 5 should be from a crop perspective, 5 should be this. Like typically use this type of camera, use this type of tilt or whatever, this type of lighting. Like there's a system prompt's the most malleable thing in here, but it runs everything. So basically when you connect that into here, it'll work every time. This can change and it'll just be like, if I said output nothing in the system prompt, and no matter what I put here, let's just say, regardless, I wonder if it'll listen if I do this. So it's like the rules, right? There's just maybe a good way to understand it. Output nothing, only output, dot, dot, dot. We'll see if that works. Probably won't because I'm trying to do this on the fly. But like essentially it's like governing to that extreme. Like I could put in whatever I want, right? It's just be like, nope, I only do this, right? So that's the system instructions, right? So you can get as deep or as crazy, and we'll go into some of that stuff as you want
It's
to.
It's like the overlord of what you're trying to do. Also, that part feels more of like the static piece versus like the prompt itself could be dynamic. Maybe you're changing things out, but these are the governing rules, guidelines, etc.
Exactly. So this is the other thing worth showing. Now, did you have both of these? I'm just going to take these out here now for cleanliness purposes. We have this little workflow here. Now we can plug in basically any idea. It'll take this Apple Pixel as reference and we can change to anything, right? This is pretty simple. To make this like an actual workflow, you have to use these output nodes. So these output right here, you just connect that. That's signals that are like, it's the end of the workflow. This is where you stop, right? So I'll make 2 more of those. So we know we want, if we're doing 3 at a time, right? This is logically, I know some people are like, this makes no sense, but just bear with me here.
Hang tight because this is you got some value here.
So now that these are all connected, now you actually have a tool. And when you go into tool, you'll see here's my regular prompt, here's my system prompt. And then I can just basically write, instead of an apple banana, let me go back to, I took out crap. Let me write these output rules again. Output rules, only the out prompt. God, I can't even output. That's a rough one for me, Drew. Only output the prompt. No additional. Sorry, we're doing this again. Commentary and every asterisk. Each prompt should be 50 to 75 words. Great. We'll run this again. But as you'll see here, we can see how this works. But within the tool, you'll be able to see what's going on.
I think there's like a big the system prompt. Just to elaborate one more thing on the system prompt. I mean, like if you're thinking about this from a team standpoint, multiple people being a part of this, right? You can see why an image looks the way that it does, right? Like you can go back to sort of the foundation of this. Whereas if it's just like, for example, a prompt history of something or a prompt itself is like, you're like digging for fossils trying to find those things. And I bring that up because there are a lot of enterprises for legality purposes too, that want to know what the prompts are. So like, imagine digging back through hundreds, even thousands of prompts, which I've had to do. Right. Like this is an easy way to see exactly why you did or didn't get the result that you want. And it's immediately discoverable. Just so it just saves a lot of time. So I think that's just a nice little thing to bring up, especially if you're doing this work for a client.
That's a good point, by the way. It's also a great way to learn. You can go back and see everything that happened, where stuff went wrong, and it's easier to fix this way. But now because we have these outputs here, this turns into a tool, right? So that meaning if I just rewrote the prompt here and uploaded the image ref, everything would fire and it would just run here. Let me go back to the canvas, make sure everything is connected here. One quick correction, we'll do an upload here and an import, and then let's add this Apple back in just so it starts the workflow. So this can be like whatever you want it to be. The file here, back to the router, and we're good. Now this tool we should have that input there. Great. So now you can change this to whatever you want. But as you'll see here, this is what you can hand off to someone. This is now a tool. Like I don't have to look at that workflow. I can just be like, oh, I want to do, I can make this so that you don't see any of it. You just type in the fruit. And it's just like, we'll label this fruit, and someone types in, coconut, enter, and then it goes, right? System prompt here, you see that it's labeled. Most of the time, I like to get rid of that. The one way to do that in the tool view is to lock it. So if you lock it, you can't touch it, but also in the tool, you won't see it. So then, you can also drag this up here if you want it to look exactly like that. And then, we hit run, and then this will all run in here. All three will happen at once. And this is much easier to give somebody on your team. Be like, here, just drop in the image and tell it what you want. and then it'll run and they can do that, right? The verse like trying to engineer this. But I built it once. Now someone else can use it, right?
Consistency, baby. Consistency at scale is the product. That's the thing that brands pay for. And so this, the one shot generation stuff, you'll be flying through hours. And so you're trying to get high quality and consistency at scale. This is the best way to do it.
And it comes down to a lot of what's in here. I would do the same thing. I would probably have the same prompts. Like again, if you wanted to do, and that's a great thing about these, these effect nodes, right? If we were to bring this back to maybe bring these back. Exposure grain. There we go. Like if you wanted to use this now, this also works on images. Doesn't have to be on video. So now we have, our orange, which kind of looks like our apple. We have our banana. You can just run that into here. And then we have it might take some little finessing here.
Yeah, you could, but that's the best part about like, you can literally, because it's like this shit, it's just this threshold you can drag. I mean, this is the fun part too. So if it doesn't quite look right, adjust it.
And that's how, we can get from point A to point B on this stuff. Now, this won't be part of the workflow because it doesn't have the output attached to it, right? If I had run this through, if I change this, if I change this to here, and then this output gets changed to this, right? It would run it through one extra step. So the orange would basically become the only thing that's outputting in this style, right? I'd have to change it to, this would have to be the output, and then this would have to be the output, right? And now the workflow would go automatically. If this makes sense, it would run through everything. Like if we'll just run this one more time so everyone can see this, it'll go straight to the Game Boy. And we'll go to the Flux.
It's whatever that last step is before output, right, Rory? I mean, that's the way to think about it.
So we just finished that one up. That was for like anyone who's never used this before. Let's get a little bit more extreme now.
I like extreme.
Yeah, this is more like engineering. So this is a tool for like those listicle videos. Like you ever seen those where people just like either they write on the whiteboard where it's like, oh, here's the best 5 tools to use for this, and they write it, and you somehow get hooked to it because it's a very popular format and people like it.
And it's perfect for dwell time, dude, because you're like, I gotta stay till the end now, right? So
because I want to see what they're going to say. They'll use some catchy hook like, what are the worst 5 restaurants in downtown Atlanta? And you're like, I want to see if
number 1.
Yeah. Right. Stick around till number 1. Right. So this one's just fun. Like I did this with, an anime character because I'm like, oh, this would probably be different, like an anime character in a real setting. Oddly enough, I made this, a couple weeks ago, and then I saw J-Bugs doing this style, and I'm like, this is so sick that he's doing it like his way, which is like, the real extreme anime in the, realistic situations. If you haven't seen that episode, go back a few. J-Bugs, good one. But
that was a good one.
This is way more engineering, way more complex than what we just did. So the best thing that I can say for anyone who's been using this stuff and you want to start to build more engineering type systems, you have to work backwards. You have to know what the end result is, and then you have to know how to get there and how you can control it. And that comes with using the tools. You're not going to be able to step into this day one and build this, right? So what we're doing here, right, is a lot of these also have cuts. So it's like quick cuts. You either jump in, you jump out, and you'll see it. I'm going to mute this just for now. But the goal is, all right, we have 5, we take it off, right? Then it'll go to the next one, to 4, we'll cut, she'll take it off. Same thing, we'll cut, 3, 2, 1. Now, there's a lot of things to control in here, right? You got to have basically everything stay the same. The camera's got to stay the same, the movement here. Then also we got to get all this stuff to work. Now, I'm knowing that, meaning probably I'm going to need to do like first frame, last frame. I'm going to need to have first frame is where it starts, last frame where it ends. So like I'm going to have to start with everything covered, and then the last frame will be when you just see 5 and compounding. Same thing. And then we loop that back, then we loop that back, and then we loop that back. So, for this, probably we need something like Cdance or Kling could probably do this, or Grok now could do this.
What do you think is right now are models like H3 and Cdance able to kind of do all of this in one shot, meaning go through 1 through 5 versus first frame, last frame? Here's before the reveal of number 5, then after the reveal of the number 5. Here's before the reveal of number 4, after, right? And stitching those together. Are we at that point yet?
We could be, but also I think about this from production standpoint, right? Like, let's just say you were doing this for the marketing team, and they said, you know what? We want to change less errors to,
good point,
error resistant.
Yeah.
Right. It was like some stupid change. You're like, well, now I have to hope this whole thing works and run, 30 seconds over again and over again and over again and over again. Could it do this? Probably. Right now, this was before Cdance 2.5 or 30-second generation. So we're stringing it together. But again, think about this as more engineering standpoint. So that's how we have to start. We have to get there. It's going to composite all of it. Where that starts is, all right, well, we need to get the board, we need to get the character, and then we need to get the videos to work. So we go all the way back to the beginning. I like to use character sheets. Pretty great way to give, reference to a character. Again, multiple angles of a character, multiple facial expressions, right? Gives it all the data that it needs when it can read all of that. What I'm inputting here, because what we want to do is first I'm going to create the actual board. I think it's easier to do it this way, is to create what's actually on there, and then add whatever effect you want to put in there, whether it's, torn cardboard or something, or it's not written yet. I would probably stay away from writing something because it's probably just going to be weird with the AI models. But the listicle, right? We have basically what I'm listing here is what is in the listicle, what's going to go into here. So I'm splitting that out so that listicle can always be changed. This can be anything now. You just write in 1 through 5, good. That'll take that and put it into the prompt here, which is I got to unlock so we can look at it, which is always, it will come in here. And these are 2 factors that I have coming in. So we have, the listicle actual list itself coming in as one variable, as variable 1, and then as 2, out the location. I can make this indoor, outdoor, whatever it is, right? So that it knows this is basically the input prompt. Here's what I'm trying to do. Here's the location that it's going to be. You can also add images for this. Now, the system prompt, this thing gets really extreme. You look at the JSON. Let's see if I can text. Can I expand this and can we actually look at this? Regardless, JSON prompt. I typically run through a very similar structure here on most system prompts, so we can just look at it. So we have our role, what it's going to do, and why am I using a system prompt here, right? Because this is going to run into an LLM, and I want the LLM to output things that are very specific. So I'm going to give it specific instructions. This will be used as the input into the LLM. This will be used as the system prompt, saying basically do this every single time, right? Your role is you're going to be a Nano Banana prompt engineer. What are you going to get? You're going to get this character sheet and the input from me, the text listicle and the text location. Those are the 3 things you're going to get always. What you're going to do is you're going to analyze the character sheet. You're going to parse the listicle, right? You're going to understand what the rendering constraints are. And then we're not going to add anything else, just that. We're going to have the same identity lock. We're going to have the environment, should fully be defined in the setting, and the whiteboard or whatever it is should stand in a very specific way. There's a lot of information here. The format, how it looks, the lens type, the assembly order, how the whiteboard text should look itself, how the handwriting should look. Human and flawed, but every word is readable and correctly spelled, right? It's not, because if you don't write stuff in like this, it'll be way worse than what it looks like here from an AI standpoint. This actually doesn't look terrible. And then I'm saying output only this. So basically I'm telling it exactly how the LLM should write the prompt to go into Nano Banana, right? So that's what I'm writing here. So essentially, like we said, every time you just input the listicle, the outdoor, this system prompt takes over the rest. We have the LLM here, write the exact prompt. We gave it the exact format to output it in, so it'll do it every time, which is great. This now will be able to take the character, whiteboard setting, place the listicle on there every time. I did it with, let's see if I can go back. I don't know. Maybe I don't have the one. Do I have the ones for me? No. I ran this with myself doing it, and it was hilarious. I guess I should have kept it in there. Regardless, now I have this.
I want to see that one.
I got to find it. I think this is a duplicated version of it.
That's awesome.
But here, this system prompt now, what I'm doing is adding the cardboard over the text, right? So every time you get this, now you get this. So I can run this start to finish, and this is where it'll start. Nothing here is once I put in the listicle, the outdoor location, and the person, this would run basically up until this point. I put the checkpoints in here because I want to stop and make sure this is right before I go and spend a bunch of Seedance credits. But what we have now is the batch processing system, which will take this, and this system prompt is absolutely insane, really long. But basically it says, you're going to create the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 images in the sequence, exactly what happens. So you start at 5. It's going to say, you start at 5, you go to 4, you uncover 3, you uncover 2, you uncover 1, using this as the first image in, so that I can keep the text exactly the same. So the handwriting is the same across the whole thing, right? So it's basically like first frame, last frame, but with image generation. And then, again, we go through our array. It's creating those prompts. As you can see here, we have everything, and I'm telling it explicitly every time that the person should be holding the piece of cardboard and in a different position, right? So it's like we're taking it off with a different hand every time, and she's in a different position, like she's talking. She's not just like in the same spot. That'll help us with the movement and the cuts so it doesn't look totally flat. Now that we have this, basically we're putting in our script. I'm putting in the script, like whatever I'm saying here in this input, system prompt saying, take the script, write the prompts for Seedance that are going to be first frame, last frame, right? Again, same batch processing system that we just built before. And then I'm adding just a voice reference in here for Seedance, and then it'll go and do these, right? So it'll go and take every single one of these, and then we use a compositor, which is basically just like a timeline editor. And if you do edit, right, you'll see everything in here is just baked in, right? And we just run through it all, same way that you would. And this can now be turned into a tool if you wanted it to be. As you can see with here, I probably took one of these prompts off. Which one did I unlock? This one. Great. Let's lock this one back up. So it should just be the character sheet, the listicle, the script, and the location, and then this voice input. So now this is what I would send to a team member who wants to create the listicle video. They don't have to do any of that crazy engineering that I just did, right? They can just do this. So that's a more extreme example, right? Very, 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 very like technical and going from here to here, and this has to be this way, and this has to be this way, but it runs like a tool now. Now it's one click, and it's really as minimal. My goal is always to trim the input to as minimal as possible. Like I don't want anyone to have to change a lot of stuff. I don't want this to be like, well, once I put the listicle in, I want it to be like this, and the person has to, and I have to choose the camera, and it has to be this way. That's just all. If you're going to do something that's this extreme, that's going to be way more complicated and way more possibilities for.
Well, that goes back to your idea though, that have a singular use case in a lot of these situations for these. Because otherwise you almost have to make it a bit more ambiguous in order to apply to several different use cases at the same time. It also makes it more complex because you're able to get very, very specific here. And this is one particular use case, right? Maybe there are parts of this, right, that could plug into a different use case. Mm-hmm. But the point is anytime you're going to do something like this, and putting myself in the audience shoes, anytime you know you're going to do something, you now know exactly where to go for that. And you know that there's not going to be a lot of confusion in trying to rework that. You've got a very specific thing, and you're able to be very specific because of it, right? You start to introduce all these other variables in trying to broaden it too much, then it becomes a little bit more difficult to manage. So I love that you sort of like really frame that up. I think that's one of the best probably framings of this entire episode, is thinking about it like that.
Because it's tough, man. And look, I think probably the other thing that we should look at here is just like usage. Like this doesn't have to be the full production engine in this. Like it doesn't have to be, you don't have to do everything with it. It can be more so like BarkBox. Where is this? This one, right? Good example here. Big problem. If you're not familiar with BarkBox, there's a subscription toy box for dogs. They get sent out every month. They typically have new partnerships every month. They have multiple variations of boxes, meaning they have to get all these toys and things into one location every month to take the photo shoot, to then also scale that photo shoot across all the different assets, right? So all the different marketing channels, all the different assets they need, email, paid, social, internal stuff, presentations, whatever they have to do. It has to all get done. So we sort of looked at like where, instead of like, how do we build a machine to create all of our organic social? I was like, let's find the one piece that's causing the friction in all of this. So like going back and like digging through, it's like, oh, these composite shots, because it takes so long to get them done. And then sometimes some of the pieces don't ship, or they get shipped and they're damaged. What do we do then? Now we have to wait longer. We might not get the photo shoot done, which then all the marketing assets get held. And that's how we keep our subscriptions going, right? So this tool, how do we just get that one reference image that we can use as like the vector to everything else? And here it's just putting inputs in, right? So we have a box, we have our PNGs of the toys that are going in, PNGs of the treats. We can swap any of these as we need to. We run it to the compositor node, which basically we do some traditional compositing here, and we just place it in so it can look like that. And then our system prompt, we run it just this retexture prompt. What it's doing is it's saying you're going to get this PNG with no background. And what you're going to do is you're going to add depth, like shadows, light, and shading, so that it looks real in a white studio. And then we have this asset, right? This becomes, something that's really important in everything. I don't know how far I have to go back in this presentation to find the close-ups.
That's sick, though. I mean, it's just that difference, right, between the composite and then just those little tweaks to get it to that state.
Yeah, because it's like right here, flat, right? Like you can see there's no depth, shadows, everything's just like you did it in Canva. But we add the lighting and it looks real, which gives it the dimension, which then we can take and we can bring it into something like this, which is, again, another batch processing engine. These are sometimes the different avenues that we're going for whatever marketing assets we're trying to do. Some of them are like sort of these vivid studio shots where we're just using this. This one vector piece becomes like an asset for everything we're doing. Like maybe these are for the social content. Right?
Zoom into those too, Rory, because I want to just sort of like think about people that may be out there that push back, right, on how real AI integration into the process can get. Guys, this is as real as it gets. Like, that's insane. Like, if you did not know that AI was a part of this process, you would not know that AI was a part of this process.
And that's the thing. I'm not trying to create like Hollywood films. Like, these are things that have to get done. They have to get done somehow.
But this is practical, right? It's useful at the end of the day, right? If we're saying, oh, AI was a part of this, is like a great example of taking individual pieces, the product itself, the box, the logo itself, like things that are tangibly have to be correct and are real, and then infusing AI into the part of this process to create this thing that is indistinguishable. And at the same time, like, people shouldn't care that this is AI. It's that good, right? Because it serves the need that it needs to serve. Just like extremely well done. I've seen a few of these from a while back when you showed me. I mean, they're incredible.
And some of these are obviously mess ups and ridiculous, but some of them, like this one, I would go and find like, oh, there's a scale problem here. Why is this pug so large against these toys? They're not that size, right? There's fixes for that. I wanted to show there's not all of these are perfect, but again, like this one's a little bit extreme, but I'm running this in batch. So sometimes, that's what you get, right? Like that's the reality of these things. When you run this stuff in batch, you get things like this one could play. Like we can work with this one. That one's actually really funny, right?
That's awesome.
And like BarkBox has a sense of humor. Like this is also good. Like this could also play. Again, we're thinking about this for email assets, for things that are, that we have to doing a lot of email marketing campaigns, things like that, right? There's also like some of the more ridiculous stuff where we're trying to do like flash photography, with it, with just like extreme facial expressions where it's stupid.
That makes
like,
me think of the dogs that go.
Fits.
That makes me think of the dogs that go underwater fetching like the ball or the treat that like those photographers would do. Yeah,
exactly. So we're trying to get stuff like this because this is just different. It's goofy, right? So that one little asset, right? Finding that one little piece, this one little compositor and relighting can lead to. This is just one of many things. This is like, how do we create the assets, right? Because then the other side of it, going to that scale problem, again, there's just another instance where they do a lot of sales pitches because a lot of their stuff is licensed, right? So a lot of their licensed material, they have to pitch to these bigger brands and they have to mock up and get things sort of visualized to get the sale in so that they can get these new box promotions. Maybe it would be a South Park box 1 month. And then, they have to release that, right? So doing these sales promotions they have, or just, sales presentations, things like that, are just trying to visualize overall. A lot of their designers, probably everyone, designs their toys in 2D vector. That's what they get. Like, that's how they visualize the toys. That's how it's done from an internal system. So this is a way to show how you take what's already happening in the organization and then just like, you don't have to just scrap everything for AI. It's like, oh, well, we have 2D vector. Okay, how do we work with 2D vector? Then same sort of theory applies with the system prompt here. So like, we input our 2D vector, we ask it to texture and materialize, add the lighting, make it 3D. Like, now it's a toy. We also want to take that and we'll use our system prompt saying, here's the toy. Give us the 9 angles that we need for every single toy, right? So this is going to be every single time front, left side, right side, back, 3/4, back 3/4, back 3/4, low angle hero. It'll do this every time. And that's the goal. But the other thing we're adding in here is the materials, like into the process. So we're adding the types of materials, the seam logic. So the seams are all the same on every single one. You'll see there's like the little seams here, the little seams on the side of the head. The materials are exactly the same, that we want to keep it that way. So then we have this, but we'll composite it into one sheet. We have all of these that we can now use if we need to use references for any of them. Composite it into one sheet to use as a reference for future stuff. But the real thing here is, now that we take this and we want to go create some lifestyle images with it, depending on where we're at. Let's see. There's a ton. We always got to the same point of, holy crap, there's a scale issue. Like, let me find some earlier ones here where the perfect example. Like, this shouldn't be that size compared to a Saint Bernard, right? Like, this is probably more realistic in terms of what the size is spec wise to like a Greyhound, or this is what it should look like next to I don't know, those Puggle, Chihuahua, whatever you want to call it. So we started building these types of diagram references into it to give it the visuals. You can type in measurements you want all day, it'll never come out correct. So we started using these 3D visuals where it's like, okay, here's the size of the toy against the different sizes of the dogs. So this problem here, it can be solved with, where is it? There it is. Better example of what we use. Really, like, so we know that the plush toy is 8x8, so we can give it scale reference against the Chihuahua, against the Beagle, against the Golden Retriever, right? That makes things a lot easier for us function-wise, so that things don't look wrong. But again, it doesn't have to be, don't have to go and create these giant, like, you don't have to go create a full film. This one little thing we use more than anything, right? This compositor with the lighting text, this system prompt, like, gets redistributed throughout a bunch of different workflows now. Same thing. So it doesn't have to be all crazy. You don't have to go absolutely extreme. You can find these little small places to inject it. And then, you can start to scale that, because this one system prompt is reusable a million different ways. I can also you can save this, you can save this node and then redistribute it however you need to. But, if I was to go back, I'm pretty sure I have and that workflow is repurposable. It'll work for any character that I put in now for that plush. I might just have to change some of the dimensions in the system prompt, but see if I can find the Stan one. There's the Stan one. Same process, right? Same end result. Just exactly the same thing every time. I could run Kyle through this, and then I could run whoever else, Mr. Hanky the Christmas poop. You can run through it, come out the same exact way, right? So we have our 2D going in, plush, angles. All this stuff is about production, where you need it. Again, I like to break it out this way because then we can always change one if necessary, if we find something that's wrong. If the flap on the back of the neck here is different, if the mesh or the pattern on the hat or the texture on the hat is different, we can always go back and change it. It's easier to see it this way. So I think that's like, from a use case standpoint, easy to see how you can just take this in a direction that doesn't have to be so big, and it can be small. And that's how you can bleed it out to everyone. And then it becomes tangible and doesn't feel like anyone's getting their jobs taken.
There's two angles of this too, right? You're in-house somewhere. You have a mandate to start integrating AI and adopting AI into processes. If you haven't done that yet, or you haven't done this specifically, this is one of those big wow moments that you can provide internally about how your creative team is adapting and really cutting time, cost, headcount, improving consistency, eliminating some creative compromises, all as a part of that direct ROI. If you're on your own and this is maybe something that you could provide as a service to a client, these are like, Rory has done this. I have done this, but clients want this. Clients want this. They will pay money for this. This is one of those things that you could leverage in a lot of different ways. You could embed yourself in the team, and maybe you're the one building the workflows. Maybe you're the one that's upscaling people and handing off the workflows, right? But a lot of brands are thinking about how they do this. And the challenge remains consistent. We've brought this up in other episodes, but these people in-house do not have time to just play and tinker on the clock. Most of the time they have deliverables that are due. They have timelines. They have other responsibilities. They have meetings. There's not this large gap of time where they get to play with these tools. So there's an opportunity to be sort of like that expert that comes in and does these things. And I think like what we'll do too is like, we'll probably share a few of these workflows in the description for you guys. So that way you guys can have some jumping off points. And I would also just say with that, we will have an affiliate link that you can use that will give you, I think, 15% off, something like that, if you want to sign up through that. So I would highly encourage that as a part of your process. Now, Rory, I was just saying, in general with this, systems can be delegated and they can be handed off. Like prompts and some of these other little things, like it's much harder to do that. There's the scale problem we already talked about. A system is a great way to scale, and it stops being so luck or, slot pulling, right? So you're getting that consistency, which we talked about being a bigger factor. The other note that I just wrote down right here is just like your taste gets encoded and codified here. So it's at scale. So playing to your brand guidelines, your particular visual identity, right? So it's not something that needs to be reperformed by different people. You've got something that can be duplicated very easily. The other part that we didn't talk about, but is a problem, is your workflows survive model changes. Mm-hmm. These models are changing all the time. There's new models all the time. Well, rather than adapting to each of these, right? Like you've got a place where your workflow doesn't have to change, but maybe instead of Nano Banana, you're now using Nano Banana Pro or using ChatGPT or whatever it is, but the whole system isn't breaking as a result of that. And then each one of these workflows that you may build is equity, right? Like you're building things that you can leverage for the future. We talked about front-loaded work component of this. And I think lastly, I would just say like this idea of nodes, node literacy is transferable here. Like this is a skill that a lot of people have not gone super deep in, but this has got insane value. And again, like we were talking about this last year, yes, more people have gotten involved, but in large, this is still something that most people, most brands aren't doing. They might have the tool, but are they actually doing anything with it? That's a whole nother thing, right? Because the adoption and integration part is a whole nother beast in itself. So
it's just problem solving, right? I mean, that's what it is. It's all the tools there for. But like The other thing, is we typically drop some nuggets here at the end. If anyone's still sticking around, I forgot to show this. We're gonna run out of time doing this anyway. One of the things that's really cool now with Weavy is if you go and highlight that whole workflow that we just did, copy it, just like right click copy, drop it into something like ChatGPT or Claude. It will be able to read the whole thing and it'll be able to talk to your workflow. So you can just be, what is happening here? Why is this not working? And it's just
I
like,
didn't
oh
even
yeah,
think
because
about that, bro.
this connection is broken. This isn't working here. This doesn't make sense with your system prompt, blah, blah, blah. So because it exports and, if you copy the whole workflow, right? Let's just do one more thing here real quick. Just show this.
Do it. I didn't even think about that. That's a really good call.
Let's see. Like, let's find a small one. This one, maybe, no. Where's that box one? Yeah, I pulled up a lot here. Pulled up a lot for you guys. Is this one?
I'm surprised
No?
your computer didn't
No.
just give up at this point.
Yeah, didn't just explode. Let's just say, like, here. Just copy. This is a C dance prompting one. Let's just go to this one. If you just paste, let's see if it'll do it. I just copied it, pasted it, and you'll see it comes out all in code. So you can see that's what Claude is reading. And that's what ChatGPT is reading. You just paste that right into the
that's crazy,
96
bro.
pages worth of of chaos into there. And then, like, can you read this? Yes, I can read this. Cool. What am I doing wrong here? How can I change the system prompt? Can you re-output a more optimized version of this now that it knows the node structure, right? And you could do can't unfortunately do this with the MCP yet. But once that gets going, that's going to be sick. So you think about, that's the last thing that I'll leave that with, right? Like, this doesn't have to be, like, the whole thing doesn't have to be Weave. We can go, I don't even know if I said this. I'm basically hallucinating on this podcast. I'm so tired from not sleeping.
This is a lucid dream, bro.
Yeah, this is basically, I don't even know what happened, blackout. But, like, think about if you're building multi-step processes in Claude Skills. Like, I know one of the things we've done is build like a CAD process where it goes CAD to Blender. Blender's building matte assets. Assets is now, once those are produced and we're taking shots within Blender, like the shots of the product that we need, we're sending it to one of the Weave workflows that renders material texture on top of it. So it's just like, it goes there, then it comes back, and then it goes somewhere else. It doesn't have to be the whole workflow. It's part of the rest of the workflow. So you can use those little tools, like we said, like, oh, I need the asset, like the asset created on the white background. Bang, it goes and does that. But that might be part one. The next run by, the MCP is going to be much bigger as it gets going. It's like, oh, now I have my Claude skills that create the the social media assets, and we do it in a very specific way. But now it has the reference images because it's pinged to that vector created. Now it's going to go ping and create the assets. It's going to go ping, go and localize the text, and ping, right? So my brain's fried when you start to think about the possibilities.
The MCP stuff's really interesting because it's really got an effective use when you think about maybe like the callable function of it. So like maybe you're in ChatGPT or Claude or whatever. You're just like, hey, take these 10 product shots and run them through my catalog workflow or whatever and give me the results, and then you just get it, So I think that's the other piece of this. There are so many AI tools, dude. And I mean, like, you and I are both popping around and the context switching is crazy, right? But like anytime you get a chance to sort of like rein in the context switching, take advantage of it. Like a tool like this, again, has all the tools already in there, so you don't have to do that. But then like this MCP component, if you're already in an LLM, right? It's just like those little things, because otherwise you're just going to be having 50 tabs open and popping between 30 of them, and the other 20 have been sitting there since January. and you swear you're going to look at them. But I just like the context switching is like such a big thing, especially if you're like doing your own thing, like if you got your own business or whatever, but just because it's like you're trying to do like 3 or 4 things at once and then just hopping around in different places. But I think like that's a really cool feature. I think that just launched like last week, like something like that. So this is like, it's a brand new feature for them, which I think is well needed.
And you can only access the tools that you've built, meaning if you're going to go do this. I'm gonna try to find like this one, right? Tool. You can only access the tool when you have the output nodes, right? The output nodes means it's a workflow and it's done. Then we go to tool and you do create tool. This will publish it. Once it's published, then it'll show up in your Claude MCP and you can use
Good call.
it. You can't just
good call.
just like be like go to this workflow and then like work in there. It has to be published currently in its current iteration. This will probably change. That's how it works right now. But just think about giving Claude, Claude can now generate images for you, right? Like you can be like, use this tool where it's just like, you can publish a tool essentially where it's a prompt box and an image generator with like four different images, right? You could then say like, go use this workflow and prompt for this and bang, and now it's got an image tool or
you got your own image tool right in there. Yeah.
Yeah. So like this one, Dance, same thing. I built it so that this can work with the Claude MCP. It'll go ping this. It'll fill in the necessary categories based on what I tell it. It'll populate with context that I have in video, populate with context that I have in folders that I need. I'll tell it to, I basically built the system prompt already off one of the Claude skills I had for writing CDS prompts. And then it'll just, aggregate the references and go run it. But now I just say that and it comes back in chat. I don't have to like go build this every time that I want to do it. It's just like go, fix this. I don't want that. Change the dialogue here, whatever. It's like a central hub and then like vector out to the workflow, middle out.
Middle out. Man, we need a Silicon Valley in the AI era. Like, dude, that would be great. I was also just going to point to this really quick. So Figma Weave has a really, really solid educational thing here on YouTube. Their channel is really good. Like, obviously we jammed as much as we could into this session, but 101, where to start, like they go through very specific use cases as well. I would also just say, like, again, we'll try to link a few workflows for you guys in the description. You'll have the discount link there that's there for you. And yeah, man, we did a lot for, I feel like we just sprinted for 2 hours.
I blacked out. I might go to sleep.
It's a lucid dream for you. Yeah, it's over.
I might go to sleep.
As we wrap this up, who we calling out for subscribers this week? I gotta know.
Your local node specialist.
Ooh, okay.
I don't know.
How about just like weavers in general, like
weavers.
Basket weavers?
Basket weavers.
Just
that's a good one.
Any variation of weave, like
crocheting. Your local crocheting club. That's a good one. We definitely haven't tapped that audience before.
No, we haven't.
Yeah.
No, that's a different age demographic we haven't touched yet. I like that. I like the white space there. Yeah.
Same mindset. They'll be good at this stuff. Maybe your local pasta roller for the noodles, your hand-picked noodles.
Ooh. Yeah, your noodle makers. Yeah,
your noodle makers. What do they call
those people?
I don't know. The guys are just like, you sit there with the Chinese restaurants and just like they're hand pulling the noodles.
Yes.
And they look awesome. But I appreciate everyone for sticking with some of that technical talk coming from someone who hasn't slept in, let's call it, like 82 hours. Something like that. Hasn't had a full night of sleep in 2 weeks, but I guess we got through it.
Pray for this man.
Yeah. You might get some hotter takes from me.
Dad of two now, man.
I caught up. We're tied.
We are tied. Yeah. If you have any more, I'm going to be taking lessons from you.
Fine. Oh, that was good. We haven't done one in a while where we go deep into stuff. I know we've been going on the guest direction. Yeah. If you guys have specific questions, to drop it in there on what we're doing. Obviously, everyone's using this stuff in a different way, and we want to be, probably do follow-up episodes on it at some point. It's also good for us content-wise if you follow us on any other account. Like if you have specific questions, a lot of times that's where Drew and our, my content comes from. So when people ask questions, we'll just go do it. So if you're interested, that's how we can continue this conversation. But I would say, drop something in the bucket.
Drop something in the bucket. Like keep the comments and the questions coming. We are taking whatever you put in there, and it's like we earmarked this several weeks ago. We're just like, we need to do an episode on this. We had a run of guests, so we couldn't get it in, but now we've got this. I think we're going to do that episode too, where we go deeper into sort of like the Claude or the ChatGPT ecosystem of, running a business, like optimizing your ecosystem with, skills and systems and workflows and like blah, 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 blah. So, I mean, like we've got that, but like any other ideas that you have, you want us to shortlist, put them in the chat, make a comment. We'll make sure to note them down. We're going to keep sprinkling in some guests here as well. So we're hitting really like the broader array of like what's possible and what people are doing, because there's just a lot of people doing really cool shit in this space. But I got nothing else. I mean, we called out the Weavers, so I'm set.
Weavers. It's good. Like I said, everyone keep doing what you're doing. You guys have been killing it in the comments, been killing it for suggestions, the guests. We've been getting some awesome feedback on that. I saw there was a comment last week. It was like, does burnout make you guys better interviewers? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, man.
Maybe.
I feel like
it's nice to hear someone else doing stuff instead of my voice.
We had guests for like several weeks in a row, so I think we were like starting to polish up there. I'm excited, dude, because I think we've also got some other great guests coming up. So we're gonna have this thing rolling for you guys. But Rory, I think maybe on that note, let's wrap it up. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for joining us.
See ya.